Is it rude to refer to janitors as floor people? I came into the office today and the first thing my manager asked me was if I saw the floor people while I was walking through the building. The reason he asked me this was because he had put in a request last week for our janitors to mop up and then re-wax the tile floor in our area this morning. I told him that I thought it was rude to refer to them as floor people, but he disagreed and said there was nothing wrong with using this alias. Is it rude to refer to janitors/custodians as floor people?
This may be subtle and comes down to inflection and intention. I suspect that your manager was not being rude but trying to refer succinctly to a particular trade. If you were talking about a construction site, you might talk about the concrete people or the drywall people to refer to the particular trades that were expert in those parts of the project. Those trades may have more precise professional nomenclature to them, but to an outsider it may be a useful shorthand that identifies the work without knowing the terminology. If your manager was talking about waxing the floor, which is a skilled task that may also imply something beyond a regular custodial service, then presumably he was using floor people as a shorthand for that skill. You could, of course, also intend this phrase to be a form of deliberate, and surprisingly poetic, put-down pun by using the physically low location of a floor as a metaphor for class or status. I don't know you or your manager, but most people aren't jerks by default.
It depends on the implication. If you assume floor to be a metaphor for the lowest strata or beneath my feet, then certainly, it's derogatory. However, I don't think this was your manager's intention. Instead, in his question, floor people is an ellipsis of the people whose job it is to clean the floor. This use is much the same as saying the printer guy or the cleaning lady, and so it's not meant as derogatory. Nevertheless, it is somewhat insensitive, in that it can be easily misinterpreted. Note that it can be rude also to talk about people by their function rather than their job title, but again this is highly context dependent. For example, it would be familiar, but not derogatory, to say something like, "You should go see Dr. Wallace, he's the top heart man in the country."
I agree with the other answers that your manager meant the floor people as a neutral way to refer to the people whose specific task was to clean the floor as requested. I want to add something to that. He had put in a request last week for our janitors to mop up and then re-wax the tile floor in our area this morning. It's important to your manager that this floor gets cleaned and re-waxed soon. By saying the floor people instead of the janitors, he's indicating that he wants to know specifically whether you saw anyone working on the floor. Also, re-waxing a floor is a specialized job that your usual janitors might not have the equipment and training for, so he might have been wondering whether you saw different people than usual. I think it should be made clear that in English usage, floor person is never used in any sense other than person with some function connected with a floor. There is no connotation of lowly status, and no connotation of high class in ceiling person. It's just a factual description. I want to refer to some additional information you wrote in comment below an answer from Swole. Both he and I know all the janitors/custodians in our building, and we both know that they are the only ones who clean and wax the floors throughout the building. Sounds like there are a few janitors, and also sounds like you both know their names. Personal interaction is not what it was 50 years ago. You can notice this if you travel to a small town. Also, on big cities, social classes are bonded strongly into every person, and we tend to minimize and accept some degree of rudeness related to social classes. Work harder to raise your social class thinking. We maximize the effort we have done to get where we are, and minimize the luck/destiny/birthright privileges we started with. On the other side, social media is great to make big noise onto any little detail and tricking specific context to relative truth onto worldwide truth. Summarizing, my opinion is that it was rude, if you know their personal name. Anything else below that is despective, but let others be and behave according to their own life experience. I clap your courage to tell him your opinion, but don't dig into ways to force him change his. Just keep your own conscience good and clear by being yourself enough polite with everyone. Share your opinions, give first advices to anyone you feel you can help fix mistakes, and then let it be.
here to become